All right, let's get right into it. When you're faced with a really violent extremist ideology, what's the right way to handle it? Do you explore its secrets with some kind of detached curiosity? Well, today we're breaking down a really powerful argument that says no, absolutely not. It's an argument that calls for drawing a very firm moral line in the sand. So, the source material we're looking at kicks things off with this incredibly direct statement. I mean, this isn't just some kind of content warning, right? It's a whole moral framework. It just immediately rejects the idea that we can be neutral observers. And it really forces us to ask a tough question. At what point does our curiosity actually become complicity? Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll look at that principled refusal. Then we'll unpack a really key difference, ideology versus subculture. After that, we'll get into the hard evidence of violence, look at a constructive way forward, and finally wrap up with a powerful conclusion. All right, first up, the principled refusal. And the core objection here isn't really about the topic itself. It's about the lens we're told to view it through, this dangerous idea of curiosity. You see, the source argues that framing something like white supremacy alongside topics like, say, the Illuminati or UFOs is a huge mistake. It creates what's called a detached analytical distance. And that's presented as a really profound error because it turns a very real-world danger into, well, just an intellectual puzzle. Kind of like a niche hobby you'd explore for its secrets instead of the threat it actually is. And that brings us to what is really the central argument here, the difference between an ideology and a subculture. The source makes it crystal clear that this isn't just about semantics, playing with words. It's a moral necessity. And this comparison really lays it all out. On one side, you've got a curious subculture, something you can study from a safe distance, maybe for its hidden secrets. But the argument here is that white supremacy fits squarely on the other side, a violent ideology, something that causes immense suffering, threatens lives right now, and is described as an open wound in society. The takeaway is so important. The words we choose really do frame our entire response to it. Okay, so this argument isn't just abstract or theoretical, not at all. It is grounded in cold, hard evidence, the real-world cost of this ideology. And to root this whole conversation in undeniable history, the source points to a truly staggering number. We're talking about nearly 3,500 Black Americans lynched just between 1882 and 1968. I mean, this isn't a theoretical number, it's a figure that represents immense, documented, real-world suffering. In this chart, wow, it really reveals the systematic nature of that violence. You can see that while other people were victims, Black Americans were disproportionately targeted. They made up nearly 3/4 of all the victims. It's a stark visual of the focused, racialized core of this ideology. But the evidence isn't just stuck in the past. The source draws a clear, unbroken line from historical atrocities like the Tulsa Race Massacre that completely destroyed Black Wall Street, all the way to modern threats, things like accelerationism, which is literally a strategy to try and spark a race war. It shows this isn't old news. There's a continuity here. And to bring this threat right into the here and now, the source doesn't just give an opinion. It cites the FBI. The nation's top law enforcement agency itself has stated that white supremacy poses a pervasive threat to the United States. That word, pervasive, is so key. It confirms this isn't some fringe issue. It's a widespread and very current danger. So after tearing down that flawed approach, the source does something absolutely crucial. It doesn't just leave us with the problem, it offers a constructive alternative. So this next section is all about shifting our focus, moving away from platforming hate, and turning our attention towards understanding the fight against it. Which, of course, brings us to the big question, right? If digging into the so-called secrets of this ideology is the wrong way to go, then what's the right way? Where should we, writers, researchers, all of us, be focusing our attention instead? And the source gives us a pretty clear answer, a whole framework for constructive engagement. So instead of giving a platform to the ideology itself, the focus shifts completely to the opposition. We're urged to look at the history of civil rights movements, to study the resistance, to understand the legal frameworks built to fight hate groups, to learn from the scholars and activists on the front lines, and maybe most importantly, to celebrate the resilience of the communities that have been targeted. You see how that completely reframes the whole narrative? It becomes a story about strength and justice. And that brings us to our final section, where the entire argument comes together in this powerful, completely unambiguous conclusion. This statement just powerfully dismantles that whole curiosity framework once and for all. It tells us to see these things for exactly what they are. They are not secrets hidden in American society. They are open wounds. They are documented horrors. They're ongoing threats. That phrase, open wounds, is just so evocative, isn't it? And this is the final unforgettable takeaway. The argument concludes that our role isn't to be a detached observer. That when you're faced with an ideology that is built on violence, the moral imperative isn't to explore its secrets. No, it's to actively oppose it. As the source so powerfully puts it, some things are not mysteries to be explored, they are evils to be opposed. And that really leaves us with a choice, doesn't it? Curiosity or conviction.